This time on Kawaii-Fi Radio, we discuss the rush of comfy animes. One of them was like, the most comfy anime ever. It's like, we're aggressively comfy. It's like, no, that's not what we're looking for. Please calm down. We learn about the late Akira Toriyama.
That guy just embodied the anime tropes. Oh no, I'm going to be late with a bit of toast in my mouth and running to school.
Apparently he often got reprimanded for dressing casually until he got sick of the environment and quit. Yes! And Kyle and Kenny discover a recent fan subbing. The fan sub of this is definitely not safe for anyone.
Ava launch!
Tetsuo! Kaneda!
Onita?
It's over 9,000! Nani?
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Kawaii-Fi.
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 Kawaii-Fi Radio!
Konnichiwa, and welcome. You tuned into Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast. We dive into the world of anime, manga, Japanese pop culture, and anything else that kind of pops in. I'm Kyle. With me is Kenny. He is sipping on a Spy X Family peanut coffee.
It's not for everyone, it turns out.
No.
But it is for me. I love this.
I disagree. It's just, I don't know.
It
was weird.
It tastes like peanuts.
Anyway, this episode, we're looking back on the legacy of Akira Toriyama. Now, obviously, he passed away at the beginning of March, unfortunately, and, you know,
Sad day for everyone.
It's been a sad day and a sad time for everyone, but there's been a lot of his history which I think really deserves the attention. Now, we did kind of delve into this on episode 2 of the podcast back in 2019.
That is not an endorsement to go back and listen to our old stuff. Please don't. It's
Look, if we were going to say go back and listen to the old stuff, we would have just said go listen to episode 2 and not do a new one.
a link in the description below. Except there's not.
There won't be. There won't be.
Look, everyone starts out rough, you know.
Exactly. And like seriously, you'll recognize that those first couple of episodes, like, I was very stilted. I was very like, I'm doing it like a radio presenter with the big voice. Say classy, San Diego.
We printed off pages and pages of notes
and scripts, and like we don't do that anymore. We've gotten better.
We've gotten comfortable.
We've gotten good. Actually, good's probably we've gotten okay. Yeah.
We've gotten reasonable.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're going to be touching on this.
I mean, I'm bothered
episode.
by the rule of thirds of our camera. I want to tilt it down, but that's just me.
Yeah, I can't tilt the camera down much more for now. Yeah, I know, but then you can't see the background, and there's a whole issue with that. Anyway,
I suppose
the camera needs work. We'll sort that eventually. Anyway, if you are new, welcome to the podcast. If you're listening on your audio device, we have a YouTube channel as well where there's the video one, which is why we're talking about the camera version of it. So you can find links for that and all the details in the episode description. There's a Patreon for additional content, a whole other show called the Pre-Show, which is us talking trash before every episode.
we get to say the naughty words.
We talked about train girl animes, the disaster measuring sticks and noodles, airports, train girls, lots of train girls.
The title of light novels. What's
Yeah.
it? I'm a behemoth, an S-rank monster.
Yeah. Either way,
if
that's something you're interested in, along with the chance to vote and on episode topics such as our annual Halloween and our White Day episodes, along with video extras and outtakes, details in the description. I think we start from $1. Well, I don't think we start from $1 a month to get access to the pre-show along with a few other bits. Yeah, I don't think much. Anyway, let's start with going and looking at what we've been watching the past fortnight.
I have no idea how old I am or where I came from.
Nani? Ohio?
Hang time! I gotta go!
I have to know. Hooray! I did the thing.
Oni-chan, nani wo miru? What we're watching. So Ken,
Hello.
why is the undead adventurer unwanted?
Because people don't generally like talking to zombies.
Okay, fair enough.
Which I think is incredibly prejudiced.
so rude. So rude. How dare they? So this is the Unwanted Undead Adventure. You started watching this a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I figured I'd catch up on some of the anime this season because I've been letting it fall behind in exchange for just watching free run constantly.
Yeah, fair.
Because it is gorgeous. Wait, which one am I talking about again?
Unwanted Undead Adventure.
Okay, look, here's the thing. We've said this sort of thing about different animes before. This one is very, very tropey, but trying to make an anime without tropes is like trying to make a house without wooden nails. Can be done, but...
I mean, look, there's plenty of channels on YouTube doing that.
So adventurer goes into like one of the beginner level dungeons, finds a hidden path no one's been down before.
Classic.
Takes him to a rather interesting looking dragon creature, and it kills him on the spot.
Here's a little bonus room for you to play.
So he dies, comes back as a skeleton, which doesn't normally happen.
Yep, fair.
Finds that he can level up by killing some of the monsters and becomes a zombie instead.
Huh.
Saves a young adventurer girl. She repays him by getting him some clothes under disguise, including a cursed mask that latches onto his face and won't come off.
Can he talk?
Just. Barely. He had to relearn that with his zombie throat.
Okay.
And now he's just trying to level himself up to become something near human, like a vampire, so he can actually engage in society instead of hiding away under a hood and mask.
Huh. So it's a resurrection story.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
And, he's also started getting a craving for human flesh and blood.
Who's it?
He's a zombie.
Okay. Yep. That checks out. Okay, cool.
Got a lot of the usual kind of tropes. He's in an adventurer's guild and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, we love a good adventurers guild, though.
I think they're the kiss of death of fantasy concepts.
Oh, I disagree. You're wrong.
But objectively, I'm not.
I mean, look, I think the concept of having a central hub makes sense, especially in like the isekai context. Like, you know, if it's a location where you can go to get jobs as a freelancer, you know, before the concept of running your own business or that sort of thing existed, then yeah, it makes sense. Anyway, this can be watched on Crunchyroll from memory.
Yeah.
It's a good laugh.
It's, it's something to tide you over if you're tired of watching Free Ren and Dungeon Meshi, which I'm not.
I mean, there's plenty of other ones to watch as well this season. So we've got another one which we checked out. We've only watched the first episode because...
An hour-long episode.
A lot of these double episodes or triple episodes coming out, which I kind of like. This was Sasaki and Peeps. And this is a story about a... what would you call him? Like a salaryman, basically?
Yeah, it's kind of not a young man.
No, he's like a late 30s, early 40s salaryman who he's decided, like, for his midlife crisis, he's going to buy a pet. He was going to get a cat or maybe a dog, realized they're really expensive, sees a bird, and the bird, it's like, what is a
Java sparrow.
A Java sparrow.
Which a lot of people in Japan seem to know what that is.
Yeah, I haven't a clue. But, they're like, oh, yeah, it's a Java sparrow. Yeah. And the Java sparrow's talking to him and said, pick me. And he's like, okay.
And then when he takes it home, it stops saying pick me and starts saying, I'm actually the sorcerer from another world and I'll give you a fraction of my power in exchange for Kobe beef.
Yeah. So he's like, I can't get you Kobe beef, but how's some pork ribs?
Like, let us form a contract and I will teleport you to my magical world.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of similar to saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement. In the principle,
exactly like that?
It's similar,
yeah, okay.
not identical. The same concept. He can go backwards and forwards between the world at will. So isekai isn't a kai. We're not sure, but it's another world. So I guess technically it does qualify.
But to that end, he spends some time there, but really not that much.
No,
because then more complications mount.
Yeah, he's been learning magic. And then he also learns that psychics are a thing. Yeah. And he's a bit overpowered compared to them. They think psychics are... There's a government agency, and he saves a lady who's being attacked by a guy whose arm has turned into a sword by firing an icicle at him.
And so she thinks, oh, you're like me.
You're a psychic.
And he's like, no, I'm not, but okay.
Yeah. And underlying all of this is like one of his colleagues at work is trying to get him to leave that company and join his new company that he's setting up.
Very complicated. It's not what I was expecting.
All this is in the first episode. Admittedly, it's 40 minutes long, but it's good fun.
It's like, hell's going on?
Yeah, you're sitting there going, we're still in episode 1. How are we still in episode 1? Oh, it's that long. Okay, it makes sense. So yeah, it's 2 episodes worth, but it's it's well told. We're probably not doing it justice, I'd say.
Yeah, it's give it a look.
Yeah.
If you like the kind of isekai magic kind of tropes, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you like isekais, but you also kind of enjoy some of the more, I don't know,
It's just there's a lot of moving parts in this one. He's selling like stationery and Swiss Army knives to the people in this fantasy world to build up money and a reputation there.
Yeah.
He's still trying to be a salary man at work.
But he can use the teleportation to get to and from work without too much trouble. So
yeah,
that's
he's
handy.
removed having to use public transport. So yeah, he's got the trading thing in the magical world. He's got his day job. He might be trying to work with his workmate who's trying to go independent. And now he's been
recruited into the Esper Psychic whatever community.
Paranormal Bureau of Investigations or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things to take in that first episode. There's also a neighbor who's like a young girl who seems to be a little bit yandere.
Yeah. Oh, yes. His stalker as well. That's five. That's five moving parts now.
Look, there's a lot going on in this show, and it means that there's a lot of room for it to be quite fun. But yeah, I have quite liked it so far, and I'm definitely going to be watching more of it. So
it's worth the time of day.
Yeah. So again, this is a Crunchyroll, the delicious streaming service that is now not so tasty because it has a gooey, horrible center.
Megacorp's gonna Megacorp.
Megacorp gonna Megacorp. But it is the way it is. Now, we do need to talk about something a little bit weird.
Actually, sorry, offhand, it's like I heard a phrase the other day which made me just hate the universe.
Okay, what was that?
Aggressive applying is the new quiet quitting.
Aggressive applying?
Is the new quiet quitting.
As in like aggressively applying for lots of different jobs?
Specifically applying for jobs which will pay you more than you're currently getting. Apparently that is a no-no in corporate land.
No.
And to clarify, quiet quitting is when you do what you're paid to do.
Yeah.
So what that phrase means is that looking for a job that will pay you slightly more in this kind of deadly economy is the new working.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah. I don't get it.
I think people who legitimately think in those terms deserve to be hunt like animals.
Yeah, they need to be shot. Taken out back. Anyway.
Shooting's fast. Get on the spear.
Let's talk about Pon no Michi. Now, this is a mahjong focused series. Yep. So, just to clarify, we have been watching a fan sub. Mm-hmm. And it is unhinged.
We're talking ghost stories unhinged.
They've been created by someone on 4chan's /A anime board as a mean sub. It's very cringe.
Yeah, what is being said in the subtitles is not what is being said. So he makes an excellent anime localizer. He could get a job at Crunchyroll. But we're talking like just hilarious, like...
Yeah, it's just bad.
Like modern online vernacular... I
Yeah.
can't say the certain words which I'd like to because course language.
Yeah, it's not good.
I disagree. It's hilarious.
Well,
it's the new ghost stories.
We have since found where you can actually watch it with English subs.
Lame.
YouTube. ADN, Anime Digital Network from France, has it on there and it is not region locked.
You're kidding me, right?
Only as of 3 weeks ago were they starting to upload it. No one else was uploading it. And I believe when we started doing the new season discussion,
won't stay around. That's gonna vanish pretty soon. Get on that, people.
Well, it's also available on Prime Video with Anime Generation subscription. That's new. Yeah, so don't do that. You shouldn't pay for a subscription twice. That's really dumb.
Where the hell is my pirate hat?
Yeah. Netflix, Bilibili, Sushi Roll if you're in Indonesia. There's quite a few spots you can watch it. IQIYI. I can't remember where that one is. I think that is...
Could be China?
It might be. It's somewhere in Southeast Asia, I believe. But leave a comment in the...
Doesn't sound Vietnamese. Could be Sing.
I mean, I don't know. IQIYI. I'm just going to Google it and see what it says. it is a advertising agency in China.
Oh,
There you go. So, yep, there you go. It's kind of like Bilibili, but green. If that makes sense. Their logo's green. Anyway, Pon no Michi is basically about a group of girls who are looking for a place to hang out. One of the girls basically gets kicked out of her family home for being too big of like a idol fan.
Oh, yeah.
By the looks of it. And then discovers her father's old mahjong club, which has fallen into disrepair, and determined to bring it back to life, she sets about renovating it with her two friends, Pai and Izumi. Between fiery games of mahjong and moments of relaxation over tea and sweet delicacies, the three young girls transform the club into a veritable refuge where they can blossom. The fan sub of this is definitely not safe for anyone. They've completely rewritten it. Whoever's done this fan sub does not understand Japanese.
No, I think he does. I think he said the thing that you're about to reference to troll people.
Yeah, so someone says yes in Japanese, which is hai. H-A-I is the Romanji equivalent.
And so that guy says, I don't know why she was saying hi when she was leaving. That didn't make sense to me, so I changed it.
He translated that to hello.
And so a bunch of people replied to that, naturally saying, she's not saying hello.
So, yeah, there's a lot of this stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff where it's like, if you know a bit of Japanese, you're going to go, some of it is close, but the translation, like, there'll be like two sentences which are close, and then the next one will be nothing to do with it. Like, and there's a lot of translation notes that have been put in. I'm probably going to hang on to these subs just for posterity because they're just so dumb.
I think we need to get some beers and have a watch party.
Oh, I think so. I think we should get most of the team here we can and have a bit of a giggle.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, Pon no Michi, YouTube's your best bet. If you want to watch it, find it on livechart.me. That's the place we go to find out what's coming out each season and where all the streaming platforms are. It'll tell you where it's available in your area because, yeah, obviously there's limitations to what we can tell with the whole world being the reach. So check it out. But all 12 episodes are out. It's a good giggle. Like, especially if you're watching like the fan sub version. Like, my God, I can't believe it. Anyway, that's kind of what we've been watching. If you've got something interesting that you think we should know about, whether that's a manga that's coming out, an anime,
other than Free Ren and Dungeon Meshi,
and Undead Unluck, and the Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, and they're all good ones this season as well. Let us know in the comments section, whether that's over on YouTube or on the socials. We'd love to know what you want. Now, I think it's time to get stuck into our main topic, and that is a legend.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
And now for our feature presentation.
Now featuring
We're talking Akira Toriyama, the legend behind Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, Sandland, the designer of the monsters for, what was it? Dragon Quest. Character designer.
Of most of the stuff in Dragon Quest, that was legendary.
Yeah, this is true. Chrono Trigger as well. Animated
His style is very, very iconic.
Blue Dragon, which was the sting we just used. Yeah. But yeah, if you don't know who Akira Toriyama is, that's the list that you need to know.
Tezuka named him his successor, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, not in as many words, but he kind of like gave him like the tick of approval and said like, yeah, he's taking on sort of the mantle of what I've done.
And take it, he did.
Yeah. So he was born on April 5th, 1955 in Nagoya. That's the largest city in the Chubu region. And it's located between Osaka and Tokyo. So it's like halfway in between. Really good.
Nagoya is gorgeous.
Yeah. He then lived in Kiyosu, which is a small city north of Nagoya, and was only considered a town until 2005, and then it merged with surrounding towns. So you know how we were talking about like it'll be a few years ago about like smaller towns being captured in the expanding radius of a city. This was one of those cases. His home was also his studio, which is Bird Studios, and his wife was also previously a manga artist as well. He's done a lot over the years. His partner, she was Yoshimi Kato, was her original name. And Akira Toriyama, like, he drew pictures since a young age. He was always drawing as a kid. He mainly loved drawing animals and vehicles, which we saw a lot.
Oh, especially the vehicles. It's
Yeah.
that they always looked like very, very, how would you put it? Stylistic and almost magical, except extremely functional.
Yeah.
Like, how would you... I'd compare them to stuff from like the early Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
they looked like they were something that belonged in that world.
Something that had been made and crafted to fit the environment it was in, as opposed to just made because it looked cool.
But also with that sort of like, they would be rounded off and stylized. It's sort of like, you know, you look at a certain make of car and you're like, oh, I know that. That's an Audi.
Yeah.
It's sort of like they were...
There's a
fit to
design
certain
language
brand.
to it, yeah.
And especially, I've been playing the demo for the Sandland game. And the first thing I tried out was like, okay, so how does combat work in this game? I like checked all the buttons and it's like, use capsules to summon vehicles. I'm just like, that's from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have the capsule. It's Capsule Corp. You click the button on top of the Capsule Corp capsule. You toss it out. It turns into basically Bulma's motorcycle, except it's got a gun strapped to it.
Okay.
It's just like, this guy is just... He built this world which he just loved to set his stories in. And he just never left it. And why would you?
Yeah, and this is true. Like, I mean, it's interesting as well because, like, he related being blown away after seeing 101 Dalmatians. This is from a quote.
Of all the things.
Yeah, it was a Viz Media article they did for Akira Toriyama's manga theatre. It was drawn deeper in the world of illustration by hoping to draw pictures that good. And I mean, like, this is a common thing. Like, a lot of Japanese mangaka were inspired by
Early Disney
stuff. So
I mean, you look at...
it does check out.
You look at like the early versions of 101 Dalmatians and you could see the sort of like the frames between the frames. Like the animation style was a bit more jerky and jaunty back then.
Yeah.
Well, this is like pre-computers, so
Yeah.
it was all based on just artistic tricks of the eye and stuff like
Well,
that.
you've also got to remember that at this time, like, worldwide culture wasn't a normal thing. So then he's seen something which has been from overseas. He's then started learning about manga. He started learning about television because at that time he was growing up. He then saw Astro Boy, which he says was his original source for interest in manga.
Of course.
And then, one of his classmates was imitating to try and draw anime and manga as a result of having, watched a lot of it. And just, he was like, you know what, I might as well be able to do, I reckon I can do what they do. Like, no problem. So he just started doing like caricatures basically of his classmates. So, it makes you wonder if any of them have appeared in his work in future.
I expect that, I expect it's probable. I've seen some of his early works and there's hints of what would be later. Like he did an early version of all the characters from Journey to the West and Sun Wukong. And we all know the story from there of Sun Wukong becoming Son Goku.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting as well because, like, there's a lot of his early works that are kind of interesting. So, like, he needed to get... He kind of stopped being, like, a drawing during middle school, focused on it in high school because he went to a creative school, and then he went, okay, I'm going to, do... find, like, a direction that I like. And apparently his parents were like strongly opposed to him going into the workforce once he graduated high school. So he didn't go to university. They were like, no, you need to go and get higher education. He's like, no, I'm going into it. So he went to an advertising agency. Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
So designing posters, and then he adapted to the job quickly, and he was often late because he was not a morning person, and I feel that so hard.
My God, that guy just embodied the anime tropes. Oh no, I'm going to be late with a bit of toast in my mouth and running to school.
Apparently he often got reprimanded for dressing casually until he got sick of the environment and quit. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
So this was like in the late 70s. So after he quit the job, and he was only 23 at this point in time, he then entered the manga industry by submitting work to an amateur contest on Kodansha's Weekly Shonen Jump. Well, Weekly Shonen magazine before it was Jump. He randomly picked it up in a coffee shop, apparently. So go figure.
It's kind of fascinating, really. It was just like what we're talking about with like how he would dress casually, and he just quit because he just didn't want to go to that.
Yeah.
You also notice that a lot of his main characters are very nonconformist. They eschew authority.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's I'm reminded of sort of like a quote by, what was it? American writer, Huck Finn. Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Yeah, basically he said, if you wanted to know stuff about me, just read my books. It's all there.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of reminded of that same thing. It's like his characters and the way he would like act and see the world. It's just like, there's a lot of himself in there.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well. So I was actually wrong. So Weekly Shonen Magazine was not the precursor to Jump because he didn't actually manage to get his submission in time for that. He actually put it into Weekly Shonen Jump, and they accepted him for the Newcomer Award because they did that every month back in the day.
Yeah.
He'd get an editor But there's a lot in this. Like, he was not eligible to compete because it was a parody of Star Wars instead of an original work.
Okay, but when have the Japanese cared about that?
Yeah, well, it's because it was for like an original new one. You get hired, then you do a serial, and like, you know, this is the genesis of like these magazines where they were monthly or weekly and so on.
It's just like, I remember us watching like a bunch of those old kind of like anime bits from yesteryear.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them are just ripping on Star Wars and Star Trek, all in the same thing. It's just like, where's the copyright, yo?
Well, parody is safe under copyright law, but
I don't think they even cared.
I mean, like, look at Lupin the Third. Like, Lupin wasn't approved. It was a blatant copyright problem because they didn't get approval from the original Lupin the Thief's estate. So like, as in like the creator of it, not he wasn't a real person. Let's just make that clear. So that was originally a French novel series written in like just before World War One. I think the author passed away. So I think it was only in the early 2000s that it was like 100 years on, and it's like, well, you know, the range for the copyright protection is gone, and that's when. So before that, anything with Lupin in it, they'd call him Wolf in the translation. Lupin, Lupus, Wolf. It's not lupus. It's lupus. It's lupus. Everything's lupus. It's kind of funny how it all worked. So this tells you kind of a bit about the age we're talking about, because his editor, Toriyama, who would eventually become his editor, sent him a telegram and encouraged him to keep drawing and send him manga, and that resulted in Wonder Island, which was Toriyama's first work.
Telegram. Oh, wow. I'm just trying to picture the time, like the time where the telegrams were still a thing. When did those stop being a thing?
It's a good question.
It's got to be the
80s, 90s?
70s?
Well, this was the 70s. That was like 78.
God.
Yeah. So the bad news here is that Wonder Island finished last place in the reader survey. They didn't like it, and then he planned to quit manga after getting paid, but then he went and did Wonder Island 2, and that was also a flop, and he's apparently stubborn and would not let him quit. So he continued to draw failed stories for a year, claiming around 500 pages worth, including the published Today's Highlight Island. He said he learned a lot during this year and even had some fun, and when he was told to draw a female lead character, he hesitantly created 1979's Tomato the Cutesy Gumshoe, which had some success. Feeling encouraged, he started drawing Dr. Slump. So there you go. Now, something we can talk about here is, he likes animals.
Oh, yeah.
You see a lot of animal characters. Like,
can we call them furries?
No. So his cats were used to create two characters in Dragon Ball. Karen, who is it's Karin, who is the little white dude who's on the tower for...
Oh, yeah.
And Beerus, who is the god of destruction, which is kind of funny. Also, I don't know if anyone's read Majin Neko, but it's a short-run manga he made, which is, they believe, based on one of his cats as well. And it's his cats as Goku.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's really dumb. It's only like 3 chapters, I think, total. And then he made Majin Neko Z as well, which was like another 3 chapters. It's just like, what?
You just got to consider, though, those early failures of him have got to be museum pieces and collector's items by now.
Yeah.
Because of his resounding success with first Dr. Slump and then Dragon Ball, which basically became an international sensation.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of crossover, as you've mentioned, like with Sandman. So Sandland. So he's got a habit of introducing characters and elements from his other manga into the Dragon Ball universe and vice versa.
It's like similar to how Final Fantasy works, where each one of them is a different story set in basically a different world, a different time. Like some of them are entirely science fiction, where others are very, very fantasy. But they all have a character named Sid. They have all got chocobos. They've all got Moogles and Cactuas and like similar kind of connections to these worlds. Same
summons.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that's kind of like a bit of a generic thing.
No. It's like each one of those is a character in their own right. And it's like sometimes like a more profoundly written one, more than just a damaging ability. But it's that they are, how would you put it? It's like they had a world which they created, but they just wanted to tell different stories
within it,
but keep similar things. And I don't know, there's something very comfortable about that. It's like, okay, I don't need to relearn an entirely new world system like I do with other anime. It's just like, this is Akira Toriyama. You might be telling a different thing, but you're kind of not as well. Excuse me. It's still these very, very hopeful characters that have courage and grace under pressure. It's like it's the kind of stories we want to read.
Exactly. And like it's kind of funny how these stories have just become so beloved across the world. Like Dragon Ball definitely was where international success came from. It wasn't Dr. Slump or any of his prior works, unfortunately.
Especially Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, huge.
I mean, like I believe we mentioned earlier that's like a lot of us started with like the Saturday morning cartoons when those were still a thing. With Toonami, with
Cheese TV on the mornings before school. Yeah.
It's like this is because they would show Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z as sort of like, hey, here's some international stuff. It's really big over there. It's going to be really big here now.
I mean, part of that was as well because it was cheap. Like Japan kind of went through a crash in their economy, especially when it came to manga and anime and stuff like that, as part of when they had the Japanese economic turn down in like the 90s. So they were like, we will literally take any money you will give us for this. And that's how a lot of this, like the international simulcast and how 4Kids ended up getting rights of being allowed to change stories and elements because it was a desperate attempt to keep themselves afloat. So, you know, we can blame that economic downturn in a way for anime and manga becoming an international sensation. Like that was the starting point.
Weird quirk of fate, but yeah.
I know, right? Now, interestingly, when Toriyama actually did that manga application, it was just for the prize money, apparently. So obviously he didn't...
Complete paycheck, full mercenary.
Yeah. So obviously that didn't work out too well. But the next one he started on was Dr. Slump, and that was it had an anime. It was the manga that started in 1980. As of 2008, it had sold over 35 million copies just in Japan.
It is a bizarre story.
Like, well, I mean, it's a gag manga.
Yeah, it's like there's not really much to it. Even the main character, what's her name again?
Arale?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's her deal? She's just sort of...
a robot type person.
Yeah, who basically she talks like Boo.
Yeah, I think that Arale kind of was the inspiration for Boo.
Bluey?
Bluey?
Bluey is an anime.
Oh, God. She's an android who is built by Senbai Norimaki. And she's known for her naivety, energetic personality, superhuman strength, and lack of common sense. Wow, this sounds very similar to a certain other main character he has.
And I believe they've met more than once by a bunch.
They have, and she beat him. That's right, Arale beat Goku.
All of those arguments on whether Superman can beat Goku online, and they are all moot because Arale exists.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's a good egg. She's inspired a lot of things. Like we talked about it when they had what was it? The Godzilla Singular Point anime.
Yes.
The outro sequence that is used, one who features one of the main protagonists in it, her outfit is designed to look like Arale with a big backpack, the big chunky cap, her overalls, her way of moving and stuff like that. It's all kind of designed around that character language that Akira Toriyama established. So he's had influences that go everywhere.
Yeah, everyone's paid homage to this guy every once in a while.
So Dr. Slump had 2 anime runs, 1981 to 86, then a remake from 97 to 99. Then in 1984, Dragon Ball. That was when it all started. So as of 2014, it had sold 250 to 300 million tankobon copies. That's the large volume novels, making it Shueisha's second best-selling manga of all time with only 42 volumes.
300 million. And like you said, the tankobon ones are like they're
the thick
big,
boys.
thick collector's items.
Yeah. And first place is One Piece, obviously, because that's still ongoing because it's got twice as many volumes. So that's kind of easy for it. Naruto was in third with 72 volumes. So like you kind of get a rating for why these 3 are known as the big 3. It wasn't to do with like how popular they were. It was how much money they made. And that's why they were the big 3.
I suppose that's part of popularity, but still.
I mean, look, yeah, it's popularity as well, but this is just in Japan, figures-wise. So, like, it's pretty wild.
And, I mean, yeah, those figures are just for Japan. Trust me, they are inflated worldwide as well from people just... It is universally beloved.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there was a whole discussion about Dragon Ball Z's sheer absolute popularity in Spain and Mexico. Mexico especially is ridiculous for that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's South America has a real love of anime as well. They're similar to both France, Germany, and Italy. France and Italy in particular have a massive anime community, and that's because of the exact same...
Very historic kind of anime community as well.
It's the same reason that... but basically, the same reason that Japan was selling its anime cheap was the reason France and Italy were buying it. They were part of the EU. They didn't have enough money to make children's programming from scratch. So the solution was to buy cheap anime from Japan, translate it into their language, and then use that as a kids' TV show.
And then wonder of wonders, it became big there.
Yeah.
It became...
There's a lot of really interesting history about how it influenced like European countries and then European languages. Like how, because of that, it then... Spain then did it, and then Spain exported it to Brazil and other Spanish-speaking South American countries.
Oh, it's
and it
become so
huge.
big that it's even taken part in, like, Italian Senate.
No.
Google that later.
No, don't. Well, I mean, you are right. It's become so big in Italy, Lupin particularly.
Yes.
Because they, the premiere for part 5 of Lupin, basically season 5, premiered in Italy before anywhere else in the world, even before Japan.
Which is crazy.
And by like a couple of months too. So it tells you how big these influences have. And it's like, my brother was recently in France and there was a train station which had a massive anime exhibit just as part of it when he was traveling. He's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, look, it's pretty epic.
It's going back to Mexico. Someone mentioned a figure to me. I can't actually tell you if it's legitimate, but makes for a fun story. That every time that there was a new Dragon Ball Z episode, what was it, like criminal cartel activity would take a direct nosedive because everyone's at home watching Goku beat up Frieza.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, look, it checks out. I mean, it's the same sort of thing in the UK where I think it's the first ad break of the news every night. There is a power spike because everyone goes and turns the kettle on. So the UK grid has had to like...
I can believe these stories because their sheer logic is indisputable.
Well, I mean, this is the thing as well, like... Dragon Ball is considered by many to be the most influential shonen manga of all time. It was one of the main reasons that Shonen Jump circulation hit a record of 6.53 million copies in 1995. That's huge. Like when you think about the population of Japan, and they've got 6.5 million copies in circulation in 1995. That's huge. That's huge. So I wouldn't be surprised. And let's be honest, like Dragon Ball has been popular with all demographics. It's popular with, African American communities. It is popular throughout all of Asia. It is popular with bodybuilders. It is popular with people who just have power fantasies. It is popular with young people, old people. It's just kind of universal. Like
Yeah, there's a meme going around of just sort of like an entire crowd of different people watching the one screen with Goku on it, and everyone is saying, "He's literally me!" It's just like everyone can find something to identify with in this show.
I hate that line so much.
Oh, he's literally me.
Yeah. I've seen it so much. It's like the people online who use the guy from the thingy classroom one, like Classroom of the Elite, and they're like, he's literally me, and it's like, no, he's a horrible person.
Yes.
So that's what you're admitting. When Dragon Ball began, it was loosely based on the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West, with Goku being Sun Wukong,
yeah.
and Bulma as Tang Sanzang, who is the other person traveling with him.
Yeah. Wait, isn't that name supposed to be Tripitaka? My knowledge of Journey to the West basically just comes from the SBS show.
Okay, yeah, that was that. No.
Now,
Anyway.
Tripitaka, come clean. Peace has been restored to the land. We've killed all the bad guys. Now tell me, you're actually a girl, aren't you? No, I'm a bloke, really. I love the footy.
That feels like a very Aussie dub.
Did you ever watch the old SBS show? Oh my god.
I never did.
Oh,
I know the book, I know the story, but I've never watched the TV show.
Oh no, we got to sit down and make you watch Monkey Magic.
Oh, Monkey Magic. I know Monkey Magic.
Yeah, that's the classic Journey to the West.
Yeah. It's a little off, but anyway.
It's not. It is true and accurate, especially the English dub.
Yeah, definitely. just like
true.
Takeshi's Castle's English dub was true and accurate to the original.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, God.
God,
Anyway.
I can't wait for the new series of that.
This is obviously where it began. Oh, I've found it.
Hell
and
yeah.
there is now an English dub of it available on Amazon.
Yar.
Yeah. It was also inspired by Hong Kong martial arts films, particularly Jackie Chan's shows. And it is
That checks out so much.
Set in a fictional world based just on Asia. So the world was inspired by several different cultures, including Japanese, Chinese, South and Central Asia, and Arabic. Now, there is Dragon Ball GT. Now, we need to talk about this. This was not based on Toriyama's manga. He was involved in coming up with the name and designing the main cast, but not the story. And this is why many people will say that it is non-canonical. Look, maybe.
It had some cool elements.
It had some cool elements to it. And, you know, it ended up in video games and stuff. So, yeah.
It kind of registered as non-canonical by the advent of Dragon Ball Super, which people have their own problems with, but I think it is glorious.
I do quite like Super, yeah. Now, there is Bird Studio, which is his studio. He founded it in 1983. It has produced occasional one-shots or standalone mangas that are not serialized, along with some other design works as well. And it is, of course, a play on his name, Tori, meaning bird. And he did all of the work at Bird Studios himself. So even when he employed an assistant, which was apparently only one at a time until 1995, which is very rare for manga artists. They normally have like 4 or 5 in some cases when it's a weekly show.
But every now and then you get a guy like this, a Shinkai, who just does all the stuff himself, even when he's got all of the resources.
Guess what? The assistant did mostly the backgrounds. That's it. Nothing else. He's like, I don't trust you to draw Goku. But can he draw Goku, though?
Can Superman draw Goku?
So, he obviously released a lot of stuff there as well. Now, in 1999, he then wrote Neko Margin, which is a series of 8 one-shot manga written and illustrated by Toriyama as a parody of Dragon Ball, which we mentioned earlier. And it revolves around the adventures of Neko Margin, a race of cat creatures who enjoy practical jokes and martial arts. At least two use Dragon Ball-style attacks, such as the Neko Hameha, while one in particular is just named Z. And he wears an outfit like Son Goku and carries the power pole, the boy. Now it turns into Neko Margin Z. It becomes increasingly intertwined with Dragon Ball as a regular character joins the cast, including an overweight Saiyan named Onio and Frieza's son Kuriza. It's still a gag series. It's still not taking it. There's guest appearances by Vegeta, Majin Buu, Son Goku, and family members. He originally drew a single one-shot about it and thought it was great and silly, and then he just kind of kept making more.
Actually, there was another manga. It was a fan-made one. I wonder if Toriyama had anything to say about the matter. The guy who reincarnates as Yamcha.
I have that.
Yeah.
I've bought the manga for it. It was done as like, I think the 50th anniversary of Dragon Ball Celebration or something, or 40th. I can't remember exactly, but Shonen Jump did a celebration for it, and they took fan comics to share as part of the celebration, and this was one of them. And Shonen Jump management liked it so much they talked to Akira Toriyama and asked them, would you be okay with this being released as like a short limited run series? And he went yes. And that's how it came about.
It's a great story. It's like
it's just 4 chapters.
It's a story about a guy who living in Tokyo, and he is a major Dragon Ball fan. And then he falls and dies in accidental circumstances, and he wakes up in a Dragon Ball universe as Yamcha.
Yeah.
Around before the
before the Saiyan arc.
Before the Saiyan
So
original
in the time
Saiyan saga.
gap. Yeah.
And
So he
he's
just starts
like,
training.
He's like, okay, I know what happens to Yamcha in this. That's not going to happen to me. So he trains and basically becomes just as competitive and able to like stand his ground and fight as much as everyone else instead of just being the joke. Character.
Yeah.
It's just like, yes, Yamcha's just vindicated.
Yeah. It was good though. Like there was another character in there who turns out to also have been like isekai'd, if you will, and that kind of is like the last chapter. They fight each other, and then I guess you could say reminiscing about the manga and the story and all that. And I can't remember if they end up back in the original world at the end of it, but it was really well handled, and it's only 4 chapters. You can get a paperback volume of it quite cheap, like 20 Australian dollars. That'd been 10 to 15 US, 100 to 150.
And I mean, there's fan stuff for all this sort of things. Like the huge big one for the longest of times was Dragon Ball Abridged by Team 4-Star.
Yeah.
They are definitely worth the mention because it's great to go back to their work and have a listen to like how would you put it? It's
a good parody.
It is a great parody, and it has like so many different lines and memes which came from it, which just have entered the vernacular of the actual Dragon Ball universe as well. Yeah.
In 2013, Toriyama to help celebrate the 45th anniversary of Weekly Shonen Jump, he ran a new series, Jacko the Galactic Controlman. It ran for 11 chapters, and those chapters have since appeared in Dragon Ball Super.
And so have the characters, of course.
Yeah, of course. And then the latest one he was doing was Sandland. And I don't know, I haven't grabbed the notes for Sandland, but I don't know if he finished it because he did have quite a few projects underway when he passed, unfortunately.
Sandland is pretty fascinating. It's post-apocalyptic, so the world is basically just a big, wide, waterless desert. Arrakis, June.
Sorry, I lie. It was he was doing this was in 2000. He did the manga for this. It's only 1 volume
for
the manga
for Sandland.
Yeah, the series has 7 episodes so far, but it's going to continue from there. The 7 episodes that are released, and I think there's another 7 on the way. Disney is doing the distribution for it, and they've been in. They aren't involved in production; they're just involved in distribution rights.
Good.
So yeah, but that's now recently had a game come out as well,
and it's pretty fun. It's kind of fun to just drive around in the desert in a big ass tank.
I mean, that's what I've been doing on Space Engineers. So we'll have to do that together. It'd be good fun. Anyway, so there's that as well. And there were a few other projects that he was in the middle of working on. We're not too sure what they are. We're not sure if they're going to be finished. We do just know that they were, in process at Bird Studios.
I want to see some of the notes. I want to see like a few of the sketches for these ideas, just so I have an idea of what he had in the plate.
I know, right? Like, there's so much he was working on. Like, we'd love to know what other projects he had kind of going on. We do obviously know that he was working on Dragon Ball Daima, which is the upcoming new one. We don't know too much about it yet or how that's going to play into the whole thing, and I think he was also involved with another movie planned in the Dragon Ball universe as well. So there's a lot that kind of
the man was just he wanted to work.
Yeah, like he loved doing what he did.
I'm reminded. Well, we've already mentioned Tezuka's connection to him, but I am reminded of the just harrowing last words of Mr. Tezuka. For God's sakes, please just let me work.
Yeah, it's a bit of that, isn't it? It's I love it. He was such an incredible creator and artist. But I mean, this wasn't all he did. He also did games, which we mentioned. So he was the character designer for Dragon Quest since it began in 1986.
And Dragon Quest is its own institution. It's and it has many variations of the game as well. I remember you playing the absolute
Builders.
hell out of the Builders one. That was great.
It was good fun.
I still have the sequel for it on my Steam
Builders
wishlist.
2.
Yeah.
Ooh. That'd be good if we could, because multiplayer was like a big appeal for it. That could be fun.
I have to give it a look, except I can't buy it yet. I just got Helldivers 2.
Fair. Actually, you and I need to talk about Dragon's Dogma 2 and its microtransaction frenzy.
There's things to say about that. Let's put it that way.
We'll put it somewhere else. But with Dragon Quest, he was designed to... he was commissioned to create the characters by the guy Hori Yuji. Now, he worked as a freelance writer for Weekly Shonen Jump at the time. So, there was that connection there. And the design for the iconic slime, if you will, he originally designed the character as a pile of goo. It was Toriyama who came back with a teardrop design, and he went, "Oh, that's much better." He went, "That's perfect," was apparently
and
the
now
phrase.
That's everywhere as well.
Yeah.
It's just entered the vernacular.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Friendly slimes usually greet players with the phrase, "I'm not a bad slime." That line has been featured in so many things, like
especially reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah, it's just like, mwah, perfect. So,
what was it? There's a live action series. It's basically a massive rip-off, like a parody of your standard kind of Japanese fantasy adventure things. I'm trying to remember the title. It was like Someone and the Demon's Castle. And the first thing he meets is like a little paper mache version of that slime. And he's just like, "I'm a good slime, but I'm going to attack you." And like watching a paper mache slime attack a guy, and he's like, "All right, cut you with my sword." It's made of cardboard. What the heck?
Oh god, that sounds pretty good actually.
This is the one where like they encounter that thief, and he's holding a knife at them. It's like, "You don't want to get cut with my knife. It's got a deadly sting." He lives it across his tongue and he goes, "I shouldn't have licked it," and then drops dead.
Oh, God. Now, back to Toriyama. He also created the character and setting designs for the 1995 Chrono Trigger game, and then animated the cutscenes for the remake in 1999, and then the original Blue Dragon game. That is his character designs all over it.
Absolutely.
So that was published by Microsoft Game Studios in 2006 in Japan, and then global announcement in 2007.
I remember having a shot at the demo for that game, but I never really gave it too much attention.
Yeah, same. It did get an anime adaptation, and that released before the game internationally. So we saw it internationally before we actually got the game outside of Japan.
I do remember that being on Cartoon Network on Foxtel.
Yeah, I do remember it as well. It's something I've always meant to go and watch, but I've just never kind of got around to it.
Let's make some time for it in honor of him.
Yeah, I think we definitely should. Now, some kind of random things about Toriyama. He had a love of cars and motorcycles, which explains the design language, as we just talked about earlier, which apparently came from his father, who used to race motorbikes and operated an auto repair business at some point in time.
That'd do it. He'd be surrounded by stuff and like, "Oh, what does this do?"
It does state that he did not understand the mechanics himself, however. He was an animal lover, kept many different species of birds, dogs, cats, fish, lizards, and bugs since childhood. Some were used as models for character designs he created, such as Karen and Beerus. He also had a lifelong passion for plastic models and designed several for
makes sense.
Fine Molds brand. And he also collected autographs of famous other manga artists. So he's got over 30, including, Yuta Tamago and Hisashi Eguchi, and a hobby he gave to the character Pisuke Sorame, who I believe was in Dr. Slump. Yeah. So there you go. For those, if you're wondering who those people are, Yuta Matago was, Yude Tamago was Ultimate Muscle, Kinnikuman, which is getting a reboot this year, and Eguchi, he was Susume Pirates and Stop Hibari-kan, and a few other notable works throughout the 70s and 80s.
Oh, I got him mixed up with someone else. I thought he was a giant robot guy.
No, but yeah. Either way, like there's been a lot of international response to Toriyama over the years, and obviously his passing, obviously, yeah. It caused a lot of heartache. So even French President Emmanuel Macron shared a photo of an autographed illustration Toriyama gave him as a gift. French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal also paid tribute. It stated not even the Dragon Balls and Shenron could revive him. Foreign ministers of China and El Salvador issued statements over his desk. Justin Chatwin, who portrayed Goku with the horrible live action, apologized for the quality of the film by posting on his Instagram story, sorry we messed up that adaptation so badly. In defense of Justin, he's not the one who wrote the script.
Yeah,
he wasn't the director.
I think
he didn't
did
have a
the
say.
best with what he had.
Yeah, so like I can't believe I'm defending someone in Dragon Ball Evolution, but Justin's a good dude.
Yeah, it's the fact that he also, you know, he made that kind of, he left his condolences for that sort of thing. It shows that he's not so ashamed.
Yeah.
It's like he's not too proud to admit that sort of thing, and that he is offering his condolences to the passing of a great master.
Exactly. Several Mexican voice actors who dubbed Dragon Ball characters as Spanish for Latin America also shared their grievances, not grievances, but their feeling of loss on social media. And a large gathering was held at the Plaza de la Constitucion in Mexico City, where hundreds of fans did the Genki Dama hand motion, arms up, face palm forward, zenith, pulling energy together to honor the artist. So like Spirit Bomb.
They bloody loved him over there.
Also, during the 18th Seiyu Awards on March 9, a moment of silence was held for Toriyama and voice actress Tarako, who also died on March 4th, in recognition of their contribution to the anime industry.
And like a bunch of his contemporaries as well. The writers for One Piece, for Naruto, every one of them left their own, heartfelt letters as well.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because when you look at the legacy that he's left, like a lot of people have compared him to Walt Disney, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Osamu Tezuka. Like he had that kind of legacy, that kind of impact on a global stage.
He truly did.
Like,
I mean,
it makes sense.
However you feel about Dragon Ball and all that kind of stuff, it's impossible to deny it is basically what has been the foundation of the love of anime in the West.
And modern shonen as well. Like you can see so much of Toriyama's influence in modern shonen and the way it's been adapted. Admittedly, we are going towards the dark shonen era now, but everything else, like the style of gag manga, the style of slapstick comedy, and that sort of thing, is something that he really, I wouldn't say he pioneered, but he made it visible. Like it would be rude of the other artist to say he pioneered it. He jumped in on it. He did do an interview in 2013 commenting on its success, and he admitted, frankly, I don't quite understand why it happened. While the manga was being serialized, the only thing I wanted as I kept drawing was to make Japanese boys happy. So, the truth is I didn't like being a manga artist very much. It wasn't until relatively recently that I realized it's a wonderful job. That was in 2010.
Oh, it's one of the things that was going around when news of his death first started. Was an ad for one of the games, Dragon Ball Kakarot, I think it was.
Yeah.
And like very, very little of it has anything to do with the game, and it's mostly just like footage of this Japanese guy's life and how it was so affected by his love of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I have to show you that later, because it is just so beautifully shot and so heartfelt. It's just shows the kind of effect this had.
Well, I mean, not only that, like a lot of big manga artists have named Dragon Ball and Toriyama in particular as influences. One Piece's creator, Ichiro Oda.
I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah. Naruto's creator, Masashi Kishimoto. Fairy Tail and Wraith author, Hiro Mashina. Boruto Next Generation's illustrator, Miko Ikemoto. Venus vs. Virus author, Atsushi Suzumi. Bleach's creator, Tite Kubo. The Black Cat author, Mr. Full Swing. German comic book artist Hans Steinbach was strongly influenced by Toriyama, as well as Thai cartoonist Wisut Ponimit.
I thought you were going to say Taika Waititi for a second. I was just like, where?
I mean, yeah, why not? French director Pierre Perifel cited Toriyama and Dragon Ball as influences on the animated DreamWorks film The Bad Guys. That recent one with all the animal people. Yeah. Like Steven the Universe creators were a fan of it. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. And, you know, he obviously received a lot of accolades over the years. He's received the most votes for the festival, the Angoulême International Comics Festival and the Grand Prix de la Ville de Angoulême. He received the most votes for the festival's award that year, though the selection committee chose someone else as the recipient. So
it's a weird sort of aside, but I'm reminded of an anime that we loved very recently, Keep Your Hands Off My Aizuken.
Yeah.
At the start of that, it is just about this young girl who just doodles interesting pictures of architecture. And then there's a part where she's sitting down with her best mate to watch, what was it? It was a Ghibli movie. And like they're watching this on a screen in a little theater in their school. Struggling to remember the title of the movie. But yeah, she's like examining the design work and the physics of how the animation is working, how the character is moving. And you can see the cogs turning in the head. And I'm just sort of like thinking of the parallels between that scene and and him and Toriyama saying that he was inspired by 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of parallels between
There's
that
a lot of
and
handing down of legacy, yeah. Also, fun fact, and this goes back to us saying why it was massively popular in France and Southeast Asia and also South America. Toriyama was decorated as a chevalier or knight by the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres by the French government in 2019 for his contribution to the arts. So
he was knighted.
He was knighted. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's kind of impressive. Like he's also won like lots of other things as well, but I don't think it really that doesn't really matter. He's just known globally. Like, and this is one of the things I find, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, this person was knighted, and it's like, that's good and well, but the societal impact is much more important. You say Akira Toriyama, I'd say 1 in 2 people would know who you're talking about, even if they weren't, you know, massively into the anime community or anything like that. Like, his name has been used a lot.
Yeah, and it's not just that, but like his work is that you show it to someone, they know who it is. You say Darth Vader to a person, even if they haven't watched Star Wars, they know who Darth Vader is.
It's in the zeitgeist.
It's basically, it's part of culture, and so is he, basically, unequivocally.
Yeah. So he was incredible, and he will be sorely missed. But I don't think his influence will end for a long time. Just like Osamu Tezuka's hasn't.
Sorely missed, but
never
the
forgotten.
Man is immortalized by his good works.
He definitely is. So look, go check out some of his other works if you haven't seen them. Dr. Slump, the reboot version of it, still very easy to watch at this in this day and age. Dragon Ball, maybe you want to go back and watch it again. Maybe you want to go play a Dragon Ball game. Maybe you want to just go watch one of the films, or maybe play Sandland when it comes out properly, or watch the series when it comes out as well.
Demo's available on Steam?
Yes, it is. So highly recommend check it out.
Hey, Steam, sponsor us.
Steam version! Woo!
Wi-Fi Radio!
Tonight on Anime Communique.
Great story, compelling and rich.
Nothing brings ratings up like a little controversy.
All right, let's kick off with a controversy.
Oh?
It relates to Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball theme park is to commence construction in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia?
They're probably the only people who have the space or the money for it.
Perhaps?
It is a 500,000 square meter park to feature over 30 rides, and attractions include a 70-meter high Shenron roller coaster.
See, I read that, and I saw the images for it, and I thought, I wonder if these are AI created, and is this going to be like that Glasgow Wonka experience?
I'm really hoping it is.
I kind of want it to be.
No. So, it is planning, there's a lot of planning. They've only just started it, but it's going to feature 7 different areas that recreate various iconic locales from the original series, such as Kame House, Capsule Corporation, and Beerus's Planet, and also features themed hotels and restaurants. Now, it's a bit weird of it coming out this soon after Toriyama's passing, and it makes you wonder if this was one of the projects that was in the works at the time. But it is part of I think it's called the Quidia Giga project. Now, I don't actually know the background around it. I believe there's like a massive new area they're building, and maybe this is one of the attractions for it. Maybe it's a tourist thing. If you do know, let us know in the comments.
I mean, yeah, there's areas of that part of the world which are just basically entirely built on tourism. I mean, look at Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, there's a lot going on around this. We don't know much at this stage, but there is a video which showcases a lot of, I guess you could say, 3D concept art in these areas.
Look, if it sees anything like those 3D 3D
images,
renditions,
yeah.
then it could be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
But there's a big...
What is that?
But.
It's the unknown.
I mean, I don't think they're dumb enough to use AI for something like this. But I absolutely love that. The unknown. So, look, that's underway. We do not have an opening date for it or anything else, but it began construction officially. And it was announced by the Dragon Ball franchise website. This isn't independent. They have supported it. So, you know, you can go have a look on, I think it's DragonBallOfficial.com. So if you just search for Dragon Ball official website, you'll find all that information there. But
fascinating, but also Saudi Arabia of all places.
Well, it's the Quidia Investment Company who announced it, so they clearly put in a big enough, you know, financial vote for it, and you know, considering what has happened with Akira Toriyama, they probably were like, this is a great opportunity to share that a bit further. Anyway, let's move on, and we've got a lot of new releases that are coming out to talk about. So,
I mean, yeah, this coming season, a lot of new releases and a lot of
returning too as well.
Returning from ages ago.
Well, yeah, that as well. So look, not necessarily this season, but this year, Laid Back Camp's creator Afro has got a series called Mono, which is getting released. It's getting a TV anime. The trailer for it that Aniplex has released is a 360-degree camera video, so you can pan around it during the video, which is kind of cool. It's not like a 360-degree animated thing. It's like I think the city that it's going to be set in, and they've taken a 360 camera view of it and then overlaid images of the manga panels to it, which is really cool.
It's very artistic. I rather like it.
Now, this seems to be a anime about a group of girls in a cinema and photography club, so a cine photo club. So very similar concept to like Laid Back Camp. It's about a group of 4 girls in a club doing hobby. And, you know, hopefully it will be comfy because...
More comfy is more comfy, and yeah.
Yeah.
This studio is...
Do you just remember, like, we were looking at this season's, new anime, and one of them was like, the most comfy anime ever. It's like, we're aggressively comfy. It's like, no, that's not what we're looking for. Please calm down. Oh, but yeah, so that's coming out later this year. We don't have a dedicated release date at this point. It's just been announced. The other one we do want to talk about is Dungeon People.
Yes, we saw the trailer for this. It looks...
Yeah. So this is
cute.
This is premiering in July. It does look cute. It is basically the idea of the people who actually run the dungeon. So like the monsters who repair things that the adventurers break and all that.
I remember we had this as a concept in like Dungeons and Dragons game years ago. Because it's like you always...
The Goblins Dungeon Alliance or something?
The Goblin Dungeon Restoration Committee.
That's the one.
And it's sort of like, because you always see your dungeons in media, and their torches are always lit. Mm-hmm. All of the traps, like mechanisms, are well oiled and maintained. And you're just thinking, who maintains that?
Yeah.
And this anime seeks to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like an entire committee of monsters and goblins and stuff who just, behind the walls of the dungeons, are operating the machines. Mm. They're the ones running the automatons at Disneyland.
They're Oompa Loompas, but they're made better than they were in Scotland. So the synopsis for this is Clay was trained by her father to be an expert member of the Thieves Guild, and since her father's disappearance 3 years ago, she's been using her skills to search for him in a dungeon filled with goblins, a minotaur, and all manner of other dangerous creatures. However, when Clay reaches deeper than anyone ever has, as she meets the caretaker of the dungeon. To her surprise, Clay is invited to join the staff and thus begins her new job to learn the inner workings and behind-the-scenes secrets of the dungeon from the inside. And if you go watch the trailer, there is a Minotaur who throws an axe and accidentally breaks a wall and starts panicking. So it's really funny. And there's
Yeah,
like,
it has
wait,
all
you
the
can
air
talk?
of like a entertainer at one of those theme parks, accidentally kicking over the set and going, "Oh no!"
Yeah, exactly. It's good. Now, we also have another series coming out that's been announced called Train to the End of the World. This is an original anime that's coming. It is being animated, I think Crunchyroll are streaming it internationally. It's based on a short called Unknown World. It was a promotional video for Girls and Panzer and Shirabaku director. And yeah, it looks really good. So
They
basically,
really need to go back to Girls on Panzers.
yeah, well, there's so much of it now as well. The story is set in a town in a not so ordinary countryside where a big and strange occurrence is happening to its residents. A young girl named Shizuru Chikura has a strong desire to see her lost friends again. I'm not speaking well today. I'll take all the criticism. It's fine. I know I've done terrible.
I'll
this
take some as
episode.
well. Fight me in the comments.
No. So
Argue with me, damn it.
Shizuru has a strong desire to see her lost friend again, and along her and 3 other girls aboard an abandoned train and set out to the outside world where survival is not certain. What awaits them at the last stop of the Doomsday Train?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to know how this world works because it's like the
Yeah,
train
I
that
know,
you're
right?
using is one of those sort of like inner metropolitan trains with the like gantries on top, which like connect to the electrical rails to keep the thing powered and moving. Except there are no rails above them.
Yeah.
There's nothing for those things to connect to. So what is going on here?
I don't know. Good questions. But EMT Squared are the studio behind it. You mightn't recognize them offhand, but they've done in-between animations, production corporation, all sorts of other background stuff for a laundry list worth of series. They were involved in Jujutsu Kaisen's movie, the TV show for the in-between stuff. They were heavily involved in Kuma Kuma Bear. Master of Ragnarok and Blessed Divina. That's terrible. Don't watch it. My Hero Academia Season 3.
So they've been everywhere.
Pokemon, Skate the Infinity, Space Patrol, Urahara, Vinland Saga 1 and 2 for in between. So they've got pedigree. They know what they're doing. So, and the animation looks stunning as well.
It
So
really does.
highly recommend it. Well, I can only highly recommend from what I've seen, but I'm intrigued by it. Like, this has a lot of interest to me.
It's like there's that old adage of you can't judge a book by its cover. I disagree with that fundamentally. You can judge a few things by the cover.
I mean...
And this one, it looks pretty.
Now, we have had sequels to quite a few popular shows announced. So, firstly, Apothecary Diaries' second season has been announced for 2025. It does include a new teaser visual, which was dropped at the end of the final episode of this season. This has done numbers this year already and last year. It's very popular for good reason. It's a good show. Go check it out.
I have a grudge against it because I feel like it bamboozled me.
Yeah.
I got like 4 or 5 episodes in before I realized this is this season's Sherlock Holmes anime. Every couple of seasons, they have a Sherlock Holmes anime. They just don't blatantly call it Sherlock Holmes.
Fair.
And I didn't realize it until now. I'm just like, gah, you got me. Bamboozled again.
Second season of Oshino Ko is arriving in July. That's going to be interesting to see how this does due to recent events in the manga that have had a lot of people drop it. I don't know how that's going to play out.
I thought it was just a meme, but that's the actual plot.
It might not end up that way. It might be a form of misdirection. Just with what's going on. Either way, that's coming July. This next part of the story is pretty good as well. It's about them being part of the Tokyo Blade stage production, and it kind of introduces you to the idea of Japan's like 2.5 stage play. So it's where they have multiple stages. So you don't do a stage change. You move, the entire audience gets turned to a different stage.
That's cool.
So then people run onto that stage. You don't have to remove like the backgrounds, the sets or anything. It's
The time of the ninja is over.
yeah, so it's non-stop watching, and it's 4D and all this other stuff, whatever. Either way, it's good. It's a good story. Beastars is going to have its final season air on Netflix in 2 parts.
Which is crazy. I thought it had already finished.
I thought it was finished as well. I know the manga's finished. But it's going to air exclusively on Netflix premiere this year. Main cast returning for the final season. First part releasing this year, next part coming soon. So that might be beginning of next year. Studio Orange is returning to animation production, who we love. They did the recent Vash the Stampede Trigun series, and they did the originals for this as well. They're just good. Like I have a lot of faith in them. I know that I'm probably going to shoot myself on the foot for saying that now, but they've come a long way. They haven't done what Polygon Pictures did, where they're just still done the same style of animation after 10 years. And it's like, please learn how to shade.
Adapt, overcome, evolve.
And let's go back to controversy to finish. Arafaretta's 3rd season is premiering in fall, the US. So that is... it's...
They spent their entire animation budget in the first series on a piece of Dragon Anatomy.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
There's so many mangakas, so degenerate.
Yeah, look, I mean... Yeah, they stay alone inside their studio for too long, some of them these days, I think.
It's not healthy.
You're just thinking of the same person I am, aren't you?
Yeah.
The guy who wants to marry his character.
What the hell?
Yeah, like... he takes a cardboard cutout of his character to restaurants and stuff, and he has a wife, you know. So, for those wondering, this is Rent a Girlfriend's creator. Yeah.
And the Oshinoko one might be just as bad.
No, well, Oshinoko, I think this is more of a playing with established story parts to it. Like, this was something that was going to have to be resolved at some point in the story. It's just how it's started is confronting, and this whole series has been about being confronting when you think about it.
I suppose.
Like, they tackle a lot of problematic things, and all of it's based on real things in showbiz that have happened. So they, like, yeah.
Which is itself just...
messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And a recipe for some crazy public, like, real-world controversy.
Yeah, a lot of real-world controversy. Anyway, we've yapped a lot, so let's wrap things up.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
So it is where we're going to leave things for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next time, I can't believe it, it's a new anime season.
Oh, already?
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like I have to catch up.
I know, right? So next episode, we're going to be looking, we're going to bring you our top 10 picks from across the team for the new anime season. That's going to be from everyone. It's not just me or Kenny or one other person picking it. We all contribute a few each, and there'll be overlaps, and it's always quite a lot of interesting stuff. We might have a chat to Tifa, see if we can get her on remotely from Melbourne now that she's moved over, but she's not fully set up yet.
Hey, Tifa.
Hey, Tifa. Now, if you have enjoyed what you've heard, all the usual stuff, subscribe buttons, join future episodes.
If you haven't enjoyed what you've heard, fight me in the comments. I will argue with you.
Yeah, let us know over in the comments section on YouTube. We also have that additional content over on there as well. And a big thank you to our Patreon members who've been supporting us throughout all this. $1 a month gets you access to the pre-show for as little, but if you want to weigh in on what we're actually doing with the show, there are higher tiers to do so, along with video extras in there as well. Yeah, there's a lot we can do this year, and now that I have time off to do things,
right? You actually got a stable kind of a job.
Well, I've always had like. It's weird. It's weird. So we say stable. My other jobs have been stable, but just exhausting. So, well. When I was in the media, no, not stable. But media's not stable employment.
It's not.
No. But communications is. But you've got to find your niche. But that does mean we've got a few other things in the plans. We do have a partnership coming up with Tokyo Treat. We've just heard back from them, so I've got to line that up with them and organise it. So we'll be talking Japanese candies and treats and stuff. We'll probably do a video tasting a lot of varieties of Kit Kats. We've got them sitting in there. I brought them back from Japan. I wonder if they're still okay, but we have got the cup noodle gamer cups.
Right.
I haven't figured what we're going to do with them yet. But
Gamer cup noodles with added caffeine.
added caffeine in them. So I don't know how we're going to approach that.
I'm scared, man.
Yeah.
Are they good?
They'll still be good. They'll last for ages. Their expiry date's like 4 years from production, and they were only released last year. So
Okay.
Yeah.
But still,
it's still weird. I don't know how it's going to taste. We'll let you know. You'll see us cringing about it. We'll figure it out.
It's gonna taste like noodles in Red Bull.
I mean, I wouldn't be against that.
You're strange.
I am strange.
I'm telling you that.
Yes, but like you were sitting there with your Anya coffee going, this tastes great. And to
It's
me,
got peanuts.
yeah, it tastes a bit chalky to me.
It tastes like chalky peanuts.
No, that's not a good thing. Peanuts shouldn't taste like chalk. Anyway, look, if you have enjoyed it, we're glad that you've stuck around this long. Thank you so much for listening with us. Join us on our socials. We're everywhere at the moment, but we will be retiring our Twitter account this year. Has been officially decided.
Yes.
It's
Fortunately, we will have an X account. Not kidding.
and as in like a former account of Twitter.
An X Twitter account. Yes.
Yeah.
This is an X parrot.
Yeah, exactly. It'll direct you to all the other ones. So if you are on there and you want to connect with us on other platforms, we'll put a link up to that once we do retire it. But it's probably the latter half of this year. It's just like we're not getting much engagement on Twitter, and it's become less and less, and the platform's become much more difficult to use. Yeah. So we will eventually retire that this year. But either way, there are other places you can find us: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Discord. Discord, we really need to spend more time on. But
So many places you can argue with me.
Yeah.
My opinions are objectively correct, and yours are trash. Fight me in the comments.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Anyway, you've been listening to Kawaii-Fi Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time,
Watch some anime. What?
Stop fighting people.
No.